Swimming like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Welcome back to another episode of the Shrimp Tank. We come to you virtually from Seattle and the PNW, we lovingly call it, the Pacific Northwest, which is very, very warm today. I think we're going to be in the 90s. So a heated up PNW. Listen, if you want to learn how to start, grow, or run a successful business, this right here is the podcast for you. This is where we say street smarts and book smarts collide. Hello again, everyone. I'm Dan Whedon, and my co-host today is the incomparable Michelle Baumberger. Our guests today are Nathan Donahue and Chris Kaminsky from Consilio Wealth Advisors. Nathan and Chris started their entrepreneurial journey in 2008. They were separate at that point, but later joined up to form Consilio Wealth Advisors. They are now a team-oriented firm, collectively keeping the best interests of clients in mind as they navigate financial decisions in life's pivotal moments. And boy, there's a lot of things to think about now, especially when it comes to money, isn't there? We're excited to learn more about what they do today. Guys, we'll be with you. We're happy to have you. We'll be with you in a minute. Now I got to do the fine print because of the business they're in. Consilio Wealth Advisors, LLC, CWA, is a registered investment advisor. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where CWA and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. The information provided is for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice, and it should not be relied on as such. It should not be considered a solicitation to buy or an offer to sell a security. It does not take into account any investor's particular investment objectives, strategies, tax status, or investment horizon. You should consult your financial advisor, attorney, or tax advisor. Welcome, Nathan and Chris. I might have to go into the business of doing the, what do they call it? I can't even think of it now when I just talk all the time. Anyway, we'll come back to that later.
I was going to say that was fantastic. I mean,
I
think we're
that's even more than what we're required to do as lawyers. I mean, ours is like half the size of that.
Yeah, so
the abbreviated
voiceovers.
version.
That was it. I'm going into the voiceover game.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and YouTube. We are, as I like to say lovingly, ubiquitous. We come to you from about a dozen cities, including the mothership in Atlanta, Boston, Boca Raton, whole bunch more. We like ours a lot, so please make sure you listen to us and everybody else. Now, before we bring on our guests, hello, Michelle.
Hey there, Dan.
You know, I got to tell you that voiceover just about did me in. You know why?
Why?
Well, you know this. I'm actually coming to you live with COVID. I tested positive yesterday, started getting symptoms the other day. It seems that this new Omicron B.5 or whatever it is all over. And although I'm fully vaccinated, I did get it. I actually feel pretty good today, better than yesterday. But the lingering thing is the cough and the voice. So I've got my tea here. But that voiceover kind of did me in. I'm going to take a swig of tea.
Well, you remember the good old days when we used to do this together in person in the studio, right? We would have to like shut the whole thing down. So
I would have been, you would have been doing it by yourself. I would have not been able to come live to you.
Well, funny enough, I've spent the last week really trying to avoid getting COVID because I'm getting on a cruise ship tomorrow. And the last thing I want is to test positive for COVID because they definitely won't let me on the ship.
You know, first of all, stay home, barricade yourself. But you bring up something that I have to tell you. Then we'll get to our guests. This could not have come at a better time for me, Michelle. This week, I had nothing literally on it. I had one or two things on the schedule. In August, I got a whole bunch of stuff on my schedule. And I read Dr. Google on the internet, and it says, according to all of the things I can see, is that because of this, I should be immune from. I'm not going to get it again for easily 2-3 months at the worst. I feel very confident now moving forward Had this been even next week, I would have been a little bit nervous, but I'm out of the woods. So listen, we're gonna talk. We got to bring on our guests, and I'm gonna bring the timing issue. Chris and Nathan, timing is everything in business and in life, and I got to believe. In reading your bio and doing a little prep work on you, timing has really been important in your entrepreneurial journey, in your partnership, and what you're doing with your firm. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, thanks so much, Dan, and thanks, Michelle, for having us on the show. It's a joy to be here and to be guests on your podcast. So we're excited to be here today, and thanks for your fantastic intro. You definitely have a side hustle in voiceovers.
Nailed the disclosure. Nailed the disclosure.
Nailed it. I've never been more excited to hear it in my whole life. So timing. So, Nathan likes to tell this story, so I'll give you my version of it. But we started our careers as financial advisors while we were still in college. And the timing of that was we were looking for an internship that we could hopefully launch into a career and turn that career into a business someday. And we didn't know each other. We went to different colleges. Nathan went to Western Washington University, and I went to University of Washington. And we would meet periodically at kind of major office events when the two offices would come together. And a few months go by, maybe even a year or so. And all of a sudden, when you're in the office late and the lights turn off, like the green buildings these days or whatever, well, we would go over and, hold the light switch up for 6 seconds and kick the lights back on. And all of a sudden, I'd walk over and Nathan would already be there, or he'd walk over and I'd already be there. And it's like, who are you? I thought I was the only person here. And so we kind of just were the two people that were in the office way too much. Maybe we didn't have a place to go home to or something. I don't know. But we got to know each other that way. And we got to understand each other's values, how we like to run business, just how we view clients and client relationships. And that friendship, I think, started right then and then evolved into a business relationship over time. We didn't ink it necessarily and become a full attached at the hip business right away. But from the first time we hired our first employee, we actually did that together. And, I wouldn't have done it any other way, just having another sounding board to go, hey, I think we should do this. And, somebody else saying like, yeah, or have you thought of this? It's invaluable, I think, to have that. So that's really where we started, somewhere around 14, 15 years ago.
Nathan, you telling your version of that story as well?
No, the only other detail I would throw in there is, yes, we met at the office light switch at 8 o'clock at night far too often. It got to be so frequent. We're like, well, might as well go get a cocktail, after work at 8 or 9 o'clock at night.
Hungry.
So, yeah, after a couple cocktails at the restaurant that was in the lobby, we just started a great friendship that's evolved over the last 14, 15 years, as Chris mentioned. It's been a lot of fun.
It's amazing. So, you hear a lot of, commentary about how difficult partnerships are. What would you say is the secret to your success as business partners? Nathan, you want to start?
Ooh, that's a great question. Chris and I were actually just having a discussion about this a week or two ago, in that your business partnership is a lot like your marriage, right? Like, we both have two relationships in our lives that are the most important above all else. The relationship I have with my wife, Joanne, and Chris with his wife, Nicole, and now his son as well. But then the relationship that we have with one another. And so making sure that we're on the same page, not just with where our business is going and the strategy and the direction that we want to take that, but also what do we want personally out of that business. And if I can understand the direction, the vision that Chris has, and want to support him as my partner, then the fact that any issues we run into the business are just facts. We also have observed over the last couple of years, as our partnership has evolved, is that if it's not always going to be smooth sailing, if there are days where I'm frustrated with Chris, there's a pretty good chance that he's probably frustrated with me too. Just like my wife as well. Like if I'm ticked off at her, there's a pretty good chance she's probably more upset with me, and she's got good reason too. So and we try to just have an open dialogue about like, hey man, this is kind of, this is causing some friction, or I've observed this is causing some friction. How do you feel about that? 9 times out of 10, he feels the exact same way.
So let me ask this question. So Chris, I'll send this to you your way. I see a lot of commercials for financial advisors of all ilks, the large ones, the small, there's financial advisors seem to be ubiquitous, and maybe I'm wrong, but there seem to be.
Yeah.
What do you think makes Consilio different? Why would someone look to your firm, when they're trying to, because they might be with somebody else? I'm sure that there's folks that you're getting that are moving from other people, or maybe for the first time coming to somebody. What makes your team-oriented firm different?
So you are totally correct that for the most part, financial advisors can get access to all the same products. And by products, I mean the Vanguard index fund or the Fidelity fund that's in your 401k. Like we can all get access to kind of the same stuff. So I think our challenge is, how do we differentiate in a very crowded space? And in part, we are very niche focused. From a business standpoint, we believe there are riches and niches. I say that because it doesn't rhyme if you say they're riches and niches, so it has to be niches. But we are very focused on serving technology professionals. So we work predominantly with Amazon and Microsoft employees. We also have Google employees, Facebook or Meta employees, and our clients tend to move around a lot, right? So whether people are at Oracle or startups or this and that and the other, we serve that community. And what's different about us is we've been doing that for years and years and years, and we understand their benefits and their programs oftentimes better than their employees do. And so we'll get introduced by our clients that says, hey, you got to talk to my advisor. You got to meet with somebody at this firm. They can help you enroll in your stock plans. They can help you get your 401k set up right. They can help you get your tax withholding correct on your vesting stock. That's unique. And, we've been in the room with other advisors, and they don't understand it as well. And so we've just chosen to stay in that lane and go deeper and deeper and deeper into that lane. And some of the things that we're working on now is actually even further customizing our planning outputs, because again, if we can all get the access to the same, say, Vanguard index fund that tracks the S&P, well, guess what? All the same software tools are available out there to every single firm. So how do we even further differentiate? So we're continuing to push the needle on that, but that's what we believe is different about us, is that specialization and that unique knowledge.
Yeah, the one thing I'll add there too, it's a great question, is on a fairly regular basis, we'll have clients come to us about potential job opportunities that they have as well. We might have a client that's worked at Microsoft for the last 5 or 10 years, but now they've got job offers from Amazon, Facebook, Salesforce. And they'll come to us, say, hey, this is what I'm projected to make here at Microsoft. These are these offers from those other companies. What else am I missing? And we say, well, gosh, you have a really great employee stock purchase plan here, but you won't have it over there. Or, maybe there's a difference in the deferred comp. And so to help them peel back a few of those extra layers and really understand what those offers look like, they ultimately have to decide if they like the team and the product and the opportunities at that next company. But that's a pretty regular conversation that we hear is a value, because we've worked with hundreds of tech employees.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of the business focused approach you took. I mean, Nathan and I know each other through EO, as many of our guests come from my EO network, because we have such cool, interesting, dynamic entrepreneurs, and it's been really great to get to know both of you guys as you built the business up. But not only kind of finding that niche and taking that business approach from that standpoint, but really being present and being out there. You mentioned a few new initiatives, including a podcast that you're launching, which feels very, non-financial planner to me. So tell me a little bit about kind of how you guys kind of engage in the marketplace with things like podcasts and other tools that may be unique to your space compared to what's comfortable for most financial planners.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for that question. And on our website, we have this insights section. And if you browse through there, you're going to get market commentary, but I would challenge that it's not going to be the standard boilerplate from big firms that will remain unnamed. It's not going to be so general. Our intent is to make the content that we produce as a firm very digestible, very relatable. We're not going to use words that don't make sense to anybody. Our industry is full of acronyms and complexity, and we firmly believe that if we can simplify what it is that we do and what we deliver in terms of money security to people, and if we can deliver an education on how all of their stuff works, their financial stress comes down because they understand where they're invested better. Maybe not to the extent that we do, but I commonly say in meetings, if we ever had a client reach out and say, oh my God, sell it before it all goes to zero. I mean, it's just like our philosophy is to be so well diversified. We don't have all the money in one specific area of the country or a company, so it can't really go to zero. So that is really all over our website, and from a content standpoint, that's the objective. You also see on there a lot of stuff directed towards our target market. So how do taxes work on RSUs? Did you know about your after-tax 401k? All these different new things that are coming out, or things that you may not know about in your benefits. You can search all that stuff and find it with us. This stuff gets released all the time. I'd like to say it's weekly. It's probably more than weekly. We push it to our clients. We push it to our prospects, and it's all available online. We post it on LinkedIn. And as far as new initiatives, we just launched our own YouTube channel. And this really stemmed from myself and our investment strategist, Hal, here at our team. We probably talk an embarrassing amount through all mediums, whether it's social media or text or Teams, we're constantly forwarding. Did you see this or that? And we kind of thought, well, why don't we record this stuff? Like, we read so much and we just digest so much data. What if we could get all this into a content stream that then our clients or just people following the firm could listen to, and they get sort of the news bites or things that are relevant, or our take on what does inflation mean? Gosh, this might be valuable. So that's the concept behind this. We just launched the YouTube. Episode 2 is going to come out here next month. And that's going to be also aligned with a podcast coming to everywhere you listen to podcasts, which is where you listen to this podcast. So all that is coming out here soon.
Well, I have to now say what's coming up soon on our show. We got to pay the bills, guys. We're going to take a short break to hear from today's Spotlight sponsor. When we come back with our guests, Nate Donahue and Chris Kaminsky, for our Hot or Not section of the show, we're going to find out if mixing business with pleasure is hot or not. Don't walk away. We'll be right back with more of the Shrimp Tank. And as has been the case the last few weeks, because I'm also doubling as the producer, I am going to do my voiceover again. Michelle, you're going to tell me how I do. Your business is a valuable achievement, your livelihood, and your legacy. Every day, you are asked to balance business opportunities and legal risks, but engaging legal adds complexity and expense. You deserve the experienced business law the way it should be: practical, responsive, approachable, and transparent legal solutions to support your business in every stage. With Equinox Business Law Group's General Counsel Services, you get a corporate legal department tailored to your business needs. Let us tackle those contracts, HR partnership, and IP issues so that you can get back to your most important work, seamlessly moving your business forward. To learn more about Equinox's fixed cost, all-inclusive legal services, visit their website at Equinox Law or email contact@equinoxbusinesslaw.com. Equinox Business Law Group, business law the way it should be.
Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank, where we interview the best and brightest CEOs and business thought leaders in the greater Puget Sound and beyond. I'm Michelle Bomberger, here with Dan Whedon, my co-host, and our guests today are Nathan Donahue and Chris Kaminsky from Consilio Wealth Advisors. Now we're going to kick off our Hot or Not segment. Are you ready?
Ready as we're going to be.
Well, I'm ready. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask Nathan to answer this one, and if Chris wants to go in, we may go a little back and forth with both of you guys. this is where Michelle and I pepper you with questions, and you're going to tell us whether the topic we bring up is hot or not, and why or why not. So Nathan, hot or not, mixing business with pleasure?
Hot.
Okay,
Well, like
why?
the two of us, or with clients of the firm?
No, just with client. I should have said that. That's right. I got two of you. No, I figured you guys do a whole bunch of mixing. I'm sure that's part of being partner, but with clients, mixing business and pleasure with clients.
Oh, definitely hot. Especially in our world where we're helping our clients manage their life's savings. The relationship and the trust and the rapport that you build with those families is paramount. What's the famous saying? They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so over the years, when Chris and I have had these relationships, we'll meet with folks 2 to 4+ times a year, and over several years say, hey, next time we get together, you want to grab dinner or play golf or whatever we might want to do. I went to a Museum of Flight brewing event with one client. We just had an absolute ball. And so you start to develop those relationships with people, and a lot of times people want to work with people that they find similarities with, that they enjoy spending time with. And so we are very, very fortunate to say that many of our clients have transformed into really good friends of ours at a personal level as well.
So another interesting topic here that we've seen is how focused most of our guests are on their business. So I'm going to start with Chris on this one. This is one of Dan's favorites. Actually, you know what? This is a plead the fifth question. I'm actually shifting gears.
You know what, Michelle, I give you the okay. I can't wait to hear. Go ahead and ask it.
All right. I was just so excited to ask this question that I got a little ahead of ourselves. So if you could take a hobby of yours and turn it into a business, what would that business look like? It can't be the one you're doing right now. That's not a hobby.
Well, I'll start. And the problem with me is I don't have any hobbies. So, but in all seriousness, I love what we do for clients. If I were to do something different and take a hobby, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and my dream would be to have that grow into something where it's thought leadership. It's, I want the YouTube thing back here, the 100,000 subscribers. Like that's cool. And
the diamond play button.
Yeah.
That would look good there.
So
that's what you're saving for that spot on the wall right there.
Yeah. This is all blank until it's not, So I guess, again, it's related and kind of is what we do, but it's not where I get to spend all my time. And I'd love to be able to make my hobby, which is that.
Love that. And it's funny because we get that answer a lot, which is why the question is so interesting, is that many of us, between family commitments and the entrepreneurial commitments that we have, the hobbies are sort of like, what? So it's a good exercise for a lot of folks.
Chris would also he would run a fantastic wine tasting shop somewhere in Washington too. So I would invest in that business.
Oh, good, because those businesses generally lose money, to my knowledge. So,
well, you've got an investor. You've already got an investor now.
An investor in the sinking ship. Let's go, Nate. I'm ready to open it up.
Well, speaking of hobbies and speaking of hot, cycling in Scottsdale.
Oh God, yeah, that's brutal. Yeah, so I think what you're alluding to is last year, a number of friends and I, every year we try to set out on a new fitness challenge, like something we've never done before, right? A couple of years ago, it was to run a half marathon every quarter. Then it was to run a full marathon. Then it was to do this program 75 hard. And then this year was like, hey, let's go do STP. None of us are into cycling, but let's go ride a bicycle from Seattle to Portland, 206+ miles. You can do it in one day or two. And we, of course, said, no, we can get this done in one. So just a handful of months ago, we all purchased bikes and been training here in Scottsdale in the 100-degree heat. And it's actually really hilly where I live. So when we did it up in Seattle and it was only 80, like that was a nice, cool day. But it's really, really cool. For us, it's not just the fitness component. It's the every single year reminding us that with enough planning and enough hard work and determination, like anything's possible. Like if we can figure out a way to go and ride a bike 206 miles in a handful of hours, what else can't we do in business or with our families or any other issues that might pop up? So that's really why we do that.
So that probably brings me, I got a hot or not for Chris, but I got a follow up to this. Hot or not, Chris, 3 a.m. feedings.
Hot. Yeah, pretty hot.
Because you have a young child.
Yeah, 7 weeks old. So I will say he's given us these 6-hour blocks the last handful of nights, which has been just game changing. But depending on where that 6-hour block falls, it might be 3 a.m. wake up or 4 a.m. or something like that. So
my follow-up, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, we're all entrepreneurs. It takes a lot of time and effort. Talk about how do each of you make sure that life balance is an important part of everything?
Nathan, you kick us off.
That's a great question, Dan. It's hard, and it doesn't always happen like that. Not even close most of the time, right? There are days or weeks where we've got 10 fires going on that we have to put out, and it's really, really stressful. But we're also in the really fortunate position where I went on a 2-week vacation to Italy, and I didn't have to ask for anybody's permission, and that was pretty nice. Chris, and his wife welcomed their newborn son into the world, and he was able to take the first month of his son's life off and just dedicate to family time. That's pretty cool. I think we both agree that work-life balance doesn't really exist. We do a really good job of prioritizing our calendars. So, we're both pretty diligent about times for working out and family time, et cetera. But we definitely have our days. We definitely have our weeks, depending upon what's going on.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of what you said. I think I don't know if I totally believe in the word balance. I think that it's sort of the harmony might be a cheesy word to put in there, but it's sort of the harmony of your life and your work life and your family and all the things that are important to you, and how do they all fit together. And it's hard is the real answer. There's endless work, and what do they say? You quit your 40-hour week job so that you can work all the time for yourself. I'm butchering the quote, right? I mean, that's true. You could literally work every waking hour, and we have during periods of time. So I think it's hard, but I think if you can break down what do you need to get done in a given day or week or quarter, we have quarterly meetings with our team, and we set these objectives that we track and hit. And if we're constantly just moving the ball down the field by way of the business and for our clients, we're pulling the boat, and that helps us look back after all of the hours or whatever else and go, yeah, we improved. So, and for me to be able to take that month off, I mean, I'm happy to share. I wrote that down probably 10 years ago in a vision, like, whenever I have my first child, I want to take a month off. And I had, it was me at that time, right? Like, all right, so I'm the only employee. Don't know how we're going to do this. And I'm fortunate to be in a position of, we have all these awesome people that are here, that the team is delivering planning to our clients, not any single individual, so that I or really anyone can be able to take a leave like that. And man, how cool is that?
Yeah, you mentioned something that really resonated with me as well as an entrepreneur, and that is, the team piece of it, right? So it's one thing to be able to say, yeah, I'm the owner, and this is what balance looks like to me. And how do you translate that and build a team that is aligned on this idea of, expected productivity yet balance? Because I find that, it's so different among people. And so that alignment is one of those, I think, interesting conversations as you grow a team to ensure that everybody's on the same page.
I think that we've been able to create a culture that is quite open about what they're doing during the day. Do they have too much on their plate? Nathan and I are not micromanagers. We don't have the time to micromanage people. So when we hire somebody, we go, look, if you have high levels of autonomy, this might be the place for you. But if you don't, like we can't meet with you every day and hold your hand through things. And the people that are here are exactly that. They know what needs to get done, and they get it done. And we have a very open relationship with all these people, so that it's, hey, is there too much on your plate, or should we shift work, or do we need to hire somebody? Or if we were to hire one person, who would they be? What would they do? Trying to constantly gauge capacity. I think us as owners of the firm, we don't really have that same filter, because we can just keep working. But it's not realistic in our view to assume that anybody that's on the team has that same, I guess, has to do the same thing. I'll say that because, we kind of just have to do it. So I think it's because of the culture that we've created. Nathan, anything you'd add?
Yeah, one thing that stands out, or I think that one of the reasons our company stands out, is that we run a virtual firm. So we're one of the rare instances where you have a wealth management company that does not have a physical office where people show up to every day, right? We wanted to kind of get away from the hardwood and like all the fancy offices. I think at the end of the day, people really don't care. We'd rather use that to hire really smart and passionate people. And so to Chris's point, when we bring people on to the team, we say, hey, you have to be really autonomous. Don't really care where you are. We have 9 team members in 5 states now. And on a more tactical basis too, we have very consistent check-ins like Chris alluded to. And we have every single day, we have a daily team huddle where we get to celebrate, hey, what's the best thing that you've accomplished yesterday? What are the top 2 or 3 things you need to get done today? And lastly, is there anything standing in your way that you need help from the rest of the team in order to make sure those 2 or 3 things get done? And that happens every single day at the same time. And so it's just that constant check-in where, what are we working on? Do you need help? Okay, let's go have just an awesome day. And that's been a huge game changer, especially since we were forced to go remote a couple of years ago.
Well, we're having a ton of fun, but we're forced to go to our second break right now. So you guys can take a quick break. We're gonna take that short break to hear from our sponsors, and when we come back with our guests, Nate Donahue and Chris Kaminsky, for our famous Plead the Fifth section of the show. This is what I like to call tell the truth portion. I'm not going to give these guys any more time. They're gonna have to quiver a little bit while we get there. So don't walk away. We'll be right back with more of the Shrimp Tank. And of course, Plead the Fifth and the entire show is brought to you by our corporate sponsors: Ideal Life 360, Cornerstone Financial, First Underwriters Insurance, Kitsap Sun Newspaper, BC Fitness Studio, and the Upstart Group. Please visit our website at www.shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle to learn more about these terrific companies. Now back to the show.
Yeah, thanks again to our wonderful sponsors, and thanks to Nate Donahue and Chris Kaminsky for joining us today. I'm here with Dan Whedon, our co-host, and myself, Michelle Bomberger, and we are going to move into our Plead the Fifth segment.
I feel like I should be nervous, but you
Here's the
built this
problem.
up
You're
so
not going
much.
to get to ask Michelle whether you can plead the fifth or not. She's the one going to be partly asking the questions. We're going to ratchet up the heat a little bit, just like it is outside. You can plead the fifth once, but only once. And after that, it's all fair game. But I think you guys will go with these. So here's the one, and I got one. It's for each of you.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with Nathan. Nathan.
Thank God.
Yes.
Oh,
So
sorry,
Chris,
go ahead.
you have
Should've
the
muted
advantage.
myself.
You have the advantage. So Nathan, if I asked you, your partner Chris knows you very well, has been working with you. What's the one thing that he would say you could work on to improve yourself in your capacity as owner?
Ooh, it's so interesting. We literally just had our quarterly team meeting where we had this. We actually brought in an outside specialist to help us with our team and our communication and how we deal with things. And he would tell me that I could work on my delivery of my messaging. Sometimes I can be very direct and sometimes too results oriented, and that can come across as cold and uncaring.
Wow, that was wonderful. Chris, you have the same question to you now. What would Nathan say that you've got to work on?
So I'm going to answer this with some context. So Nathan is a very quick decision maker, and you see a set of 3 problems. He'll pick the right one, move on, and we're done. And I do not make decisions quickly. I'm very data oriented, very go slow. Wait, have we looked at all these options? Okay, so I have 3 options, but what are these other 2? And I drive him crazy because I'm so slow in how much data I gather. And he drives me crazy because, in my opinion, he doesn't gather enough information to make a decision. And so the value of that, however, is that we pull each other along in a good way. So that when we do make a decision, there's a decent balance of it actually gets done, but also we've invested in the right amount of research to be confident in that decision. So I think along those lines, it would be for me to not do as much of that, to speed up a little bit, to let go a little bit. I often have problems delegating certain things. And so Nathan would tell me, you don't need to spend hours looking at that one thing, or, delegate it and then verify it. Right. He's much better at that than I am.
I think it says a lot about your partnership, just that the awareness and the ability to sort of have that conversation is really neat to hear. So,
well, Michelle, it's, and I think this is valuable. I mean, it has cost tens of thousands of dollars in terms of coaching for us individually, us together. We believe strongly in the value of those relationships. I mean, look, we coach our clients with their planning, so why wouldn't we receive that ourselves? And this is not something that we can just figure out on our own. I think that perspective from a third party is invaluable, and we've been investing in that. That is not an expense, that is an investment. We've been investing in that for 15 years.
Yeah.
So that's how we can be so open with each other and want to jump on each other's backs every once in a while, but at the same time sit down and have a productive conversation.
You developed the tools to do that. I mean, you talked about your marriage as being, the other very important relationship. It's an investment, and how do we have those conversations? So I'm going to hold off on the plead the fifth and dig a little bit deeper into what did you look for in a business coach or a business advisor? How did you find someone who really could provide you with that? Because similar to financial planners, I mean, business coaches are, dime a dozen, all with a different personality and different niche. What did you look for, and how did you know you found the right one?
That's a fantastic question. We've engaged with so many over the years. Many of them, just like our clients, were referrals. I think we also, Chris and I, function with a very high degree of accountability, as well as a voice that is comfortable pushing us into a space where we're uncomfortable, right? Like one of my favorite quotes is, "Get comfortable being uncomfortable." And if somebody's willing to push us in a direction like, "Hey, this doesn't feel good, but it's probably because I'm going to grow from it," that's really what we should be doing. But I think a great example is we engaged with Teams and Leaders, which is a local Pacific Northwest company, for our most recent quarterly team meeting. We flew everybody in for a day, 2 days, at this great resort in Kirkland. And we, in preparation for this, we were like, hey, we could do like 2 days of planning and go through all of our OKRs. Gosh, we'd get so much done. And then we actually looked at it, reflected, and said, really, these 2 days, like, everybody's virtual. Why don't we just spend time together and make memories and become a better team? Seems like it'd be a much higher ROI on that time. And so we actually brought in a third-party coach to help us with that. And Kevin Bush from that company, just like shout out to him, like he deserves it. He knocked the cover off the ball. And every single one of our team members was like, that was the coolest part about it. Wasn't renting the boat or all the great dinners or this really cool hotel. It was the time we had together, going through the challenge course and having conversations about how we function as a team. That was everybody's highlight, which was really cool.
All right, I'll stick with the plead the fifth. What is your reaction to the word impossible?
Watch me.
That does not surprise me at all.
I mean, yeah.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, nothing is really impossible. I think it just needs to be broken down. You might have this massive, massive goal. Oh, that's impossible. Well, what are the steps that we need to take to get there, get close to there? And I think it's part of goal setting, you know, and early on, look, our coaches were like, we needed to grow the business. That was priority number 1, 2, and 3, get clients, build revenue so that we can actually hire people, you know, scale. And it's not that it's not that today, but it's also evolved to other running the business things. So, you know, as much as I'd like to stand here and say, yeah, we never imagined it would kind of grow to what it is today, we did, and we wrote it down, and we did not have a clear path on how we're going to get there, but we had a path. And so it's not impossible.
I think I'd add to that, Michelle, when we transitioned from, we were with a very large broker dealer for what, 13, 14 years, Chris, and launched an independent firm a little over a year ago. And we met with a lot of great, very talented consultants and other firms. And a lot of them said, hey guys, you don't want to start your own firm. It's too hard. The compliance is too onerous. Trust me, it's not what you want to do. It's impossible. It's not going to be the right thing. And looking back a little over a year later, thank God we didn't listen to them, right? Thank God we chose the hard path, because, and it's been tough, but it's been way, way, way more rewarding. So I think that's kind of the fun part of entrepreneurship, right? Like why we're all here is maybe there's something somebody said was impossible, or it's too hard to fix this or whatever. We said, nah, I think I can figure that out. And that's why we keep coming back to this gig.
Thank you so much for sharing those additional thoughts, just because I think the building the business part is something that, just from knowing you both, you have done an amazing job of being forward thinking and to really focus on, you know, what does this business need to look like? So as we wrap up, I wanted to have you share how people could get in touch with you. If our listeners wanted to reach out, what is the best way for them to get more information?
So they are more than welcome to reach out to us directly. Our emails are just our first name dot our last name at consiliowealth.com. We also have a catch-all inbox that's just team@consiliowealth.com, and you know, that will get routed through to the team, and we'll be able to connect that way as well. And visit our website. We have a lot of really great content on our website. If you're interested in receiving content from us, subscribe to our newsletter. You'll get updates from us, whether it's here's a new article we posted, here's our latest podcast, you know, here's a cool team event that we did. You know, feel free to sign up that way and read more about us and the firm and who we serve. And lastly, we're on social. So follow us on LinkedIn, search for either of our names, search for Consilio Wealth, follow us, and you'll be able to see the content and the thought leadership that we produce.
Well, thank you both for being guests on the Shrimp Tank. For our listeners, make sure you check out all the replays at shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle and wherever you get your podcast, iHeartRadio, Google, Spotify, Stitcher. Please also follow us on our show's social media pages on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
Well, Nathan, Chris, thank you so much for joining. We had a wonderful time today, and if you like to play golf with clients, we'll have to get out on the golf course. We'll just make that a date here before the season ends. Michelle, have a great cruise. I'll look forward to hearing all of your stories next month when you're back on. Everybody else, our next show will be on Wednesday, August 3rd. We live stream every Wednesday, just like Michelle said. So go to Facebook, like us there so you can watch us. Our guest will be Nikki Roush from Sales Maven. My co-host will be Craig Swanson. In the meantime, everybody, please be safe, be well, be prosperous, stay healthy, because until next week, the shrimp is back in the tank. So long.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond, and the